Coming up, the toll PTSD can take on first responders.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. The U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs says about 12 million people in the United States are living with PTSD. They say often those people do not get the treatment they need. Tonight, Jeremy Toms talked with one Kentucky EMS team about the toll the disorder takes on first responders.
Christopher Runyon has served the public in the EMS field for 35 years, a commitment which hasn't come without cost.
It may only be 1 in 75 or 1 in 100 calls, but you will face those calls that are going to disturb you.
For many of those years, he'd returned from a traumatizing run, only to hear something like this.
That's part of the job, and you have to deal with it, and if you can't deal with it, then you need to find something else to do.
And they do deal with it, but Runyon says the job affects first responders over time.
You go on a call, you're disturbed by it, but you kind of tuck it away in the back of your mind, and then they just begin to build up and build up.
But the culture of suppressing emotions and feelings is fading within his office.
Now it's no, you need a minute, you can't help somebody if you're not okay.
Starting this year, the service will have an internal critical incident team that will get training on peer-to-peer counseling so they can be there for their coworkers. They'll also start evaluating the mental health of their EMTs every year, in addition to their physicals.
And we're just trying to change a culture where people are comfortable coming to us and talking to about it. That's the big step.
New EMTs like Lexi Bowman are seeing a more supportive workplace.
Their first priority is mental health, even if it's not work related. If you were like, man, I've got this going on, it's personal, go home, take a day.
And so they're ready to share those values with other aspiring first responders.
Don't bottle it up because that never helps. It's always better to let it out and utilize what you have.
In Georgetown, Jeremy Toms, WKYT.
Runyon says their agency also offers a free employee assistance program that will pay for his team to seek outside counseling if they would like it.
My goodness, we had temperatures today in the 70s and 80s. That trend will continue as we go into your Tuesday. Numbers for today made it to 83 in Manchester as well as Jackson, 81 in Prestonsburg. Pikeville, oh so close to 80, made it to 79. 76 was the high in Clintwood. London made it to 83 as well. Now we did see a little bit of rain, especially in the morning hours of your Monday. London picking up about 6/100ths of an inch. Prestonsburg just a little bit there, and then over towards the Ashland area seeing a little bit as well. So it was more or less kind of a London, Manchester type rain event. Right now, though, we're seeing temperatures in the 60s, even 70s. 70 in Somerset, otherwise 69 in London, 72 Jackson, 67 Prestonsburg. Harlan checking in with 69, Middlesboro 67 degrees. Seeing a little bit of cloud cover on the radar. That's going to dwindle down as we go throughout your evening and overnight hours. But if you have plans for the next 12 hours, there you go. Temperatures will stay in the 60s. We'll go to 81 by the noon hour. Now, coming up in the 7-day forecast, I made a little bit of a change in the forecast as compared to the 6, and I'll tell you what that change is in a few minutes. Steve, over to you.
All right, Eric, thank you. One Clay County man learns he'll be spending 12 years behind bars. Terry Wagers was sentenced for the Labor Day 2020 death of Johnny Lynn Curry after recently pleading guilty to manslaughter. Curry was shot and killed at the intersection of Kentucky 149 and US 421. His father, Jimmy Curry, says he wanted to hold his son one last time.
At the funeral, I wanted to lean on my son and hold him and kiss him on his forehead, but I couldn't because I had to pull his sister and his daughter away. I had to be strong for them.
Curry says it's been difficult to live without his son and says he still does not feel like justice has been served. During the pandemic, overdose deaths became far too prevalent in the United States. However, a recent report found overdose deaths are declining in the U.S. and even more so here in the Commonwealth. With more help readily available and Narcan accessible, it's all proving to make a difference. Robert Fannin, a patient at Beacons of Hope, says his time in recovery has given him new opportunities for a better tomorrow.
I feel like I've found God here. I feel like it's this place it's more family oriented. It's smaller than other places, so you get to know everybody, every staff member, every client that comes through the door, and it feels like everybody's rooting for you here. I never really felt that anywhere else before.
To learn more about resources that Beacons of Hope has to offer, you can look for this story on our website, WYMT.com, and the WYMT News app. Members of the Kentucky Poor People's Campaign will soon head to Washington, D.C. to have their voices heard. About a dozen members of the campaign held a rally on the front steps of the state capitol today. There, they announced they will travel to the nation's capital on June 29th for the National Poor People's Campaign Moral Revival March on Washington, D.C. Tens of thousands are expected to show up to demand federal legislators to end poverty and encourage Americans to vote.
But we want to get policies passed that help your everyday people. So people are interested in health care, and they're interested in affordable rent, affordable housing. People need food that they can afford.
The Poor People's Campaign is nonpartisan. According to the organization, poverty is the fourth leading cause of death in the United States. School boards across the nation have important financial decisions to make as a deadline to spend federal funding approaches. As a result of the pandemic, schools received millions of dollars to help them limit the impact of COVID-19 in the classroom. If schools have any money left over, they have until September 30th to spend it, which could leave an impact on their budget. Superintendent of Perry County Schools Kent Campbell says with the deadline in mind, it's important they have a backup plan.
It'll be hard losing those funds, but it will not impact. We had a plan developed, and it will not impact the future of our district. And we're going to meet students' needs no matter if we have, an additional $16 million in funds or not.
One of the things Campbell says they use the funding for is instructional coaches. And with that funding gone, Perry County Schools went from 7 instructional coaches to 3. State education leaders want to improve literacy rates across the Commonwealth. The Summer Boost Reading and Mathematics program is just one of the ways the Bluegrass State hopes to engage children, encouraging them to read at least 20 minutes per day.
Children can lose up to 3 months of their learning over the summertime, and Dr. Begley talked about the summer slide and what might happen if we don't continue to practice what we learned during the school year.
Officials say lawmakers spent years researching and crafting legislation to help improve literacy rates in the Commonwealth. In 2022, legislators passed the Read to Succeed Act. Last year, they passed Senate Bill 156, which establishes a reading research center, which the University of Louisville has agreed to house for 5 years. Dolly Parton's Imagination Library is expanding its reach in Kentucky. The program is now offering free books to children from birth to age 5 in every zip code. The program ensures that all children, regardless of their family's income, have access to high-quality books. TSA reported 5 of its 10 busiest days ever happened last month. Experts say it's a sign of travel ramping up this summer season. If you're planning a trip, you should know your rights when it comes to traveling by air. As Samantha Valentino shows us, those rights will soon undergo major changes.
Airlines all have different sorts of rules when it comes to what they offer for canceled flights.
You can compare policies from the 10 large domestic airlines on the U.S. Department of Transportation's website. For example, if you experience a controllable delay of 3 hours or more with any of the major domestic airlines, you're entitled to a meal or meal voucher. A controllable delay is anything the airline can control, including maintenance or crew problems, fueling, or cabin cleaning. AAA says it's important to know what your airline's policies are before you fly, since they all vary.
That's all going to change for fall travel. We're going to see the rule go into effect where we will see consistency across airlines.
New rules from the Biden administration will take effect this fall. They set specific guidelines for when airlines have to provide refunds. If your flight is canceled or significantly changed and you choose not to accept alternative transportation or travel credits offered, you're entitled to a refund. Significant changes include departure or travel times by more than 3 hours domestically.
Until then, I've been telling people, make sure that you download your airline's app, look for what they offer should your flight become delayed, because we are still seeing a lot of delayed and canceled flights. And so that's important that you know before you go what you're getting into, what you might be offered.
In Lexington, Samantha Valentino, WKYT.
Starting this fall, the U.S. Department of Transportation's new rules for airlines regarding refunds will take effect. There's a recall out for more than 125,000 Tesla vehicles. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says it's over an issue with the seatbelt warning system. Regulators say drivers are supposed to get visual and audible signals when they are not belted in. However, a glitch in certain vehicles may not allow that to happen, according to documents released by NHTSA. Tesla officials say they are not aware of any crashes or injuries related to the issue. Coming up on Mountain News at 11, the criminal trial of the president's son gets underway in Delaware.
And in the world of weather, we had temperatures in the 70s and 80s. That trend will continue for your Tuesday. There's one day on the 7-day where it's just picture perfect. And we'll tell you when in just a few minutes. Stay with us.